Do you want to hear me at the back? That's all right, that's fine, that's right. So as we remembered servicemen and women and civilians who were killed in war in November at the memorial service, perhaps today we may commend to God those whom we've known and loved, for deceased family members, spouses, parents, a child perhaps, or children, a brother, a sister, friends, former colleagues at the council, and council co-workers. My invitation to you is, Lord, in your mercy, and if you'd like to respond with, hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. We pray for one another. Some of you may be experiencing personal difficulties, health issues, bereavement, family breakup, friction at home or at work. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. And we ask our Heavenly Father to bless our work, our efforts in this season of Advent, to pour out his wisdom on the decisions that you make in your various committees and full council meeting. Those decisions that we make for the benefit of the people who elected us and for the common good of the communities in the Fylde. Lord, in your mercy, I invite you to join with me in the Our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you.
Okay, first item, do any members have any personal or prejudicial interests to declare? We'll take it from that side and work our way around.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to declare an interest under item 5. I'm a governor at Clifton School, which is part of the question being asked. Thanks. Item 6, sorry. It said 5 on my iPad.
Item 6.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Ditto.
I'd like to declare a personal interest. I'm a newly appointed governor at Hayhouses Primary School.
I like to declare an interest as I'm a staff member at Hayhouses Primary School.
Mr. Mayor, I declare a personal interest. I'm a governor of St Francis School.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just again, number 6, my wife works at Clifton Primary School. Declare that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have an interest in item number 10.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, can I declare an interest in item 10 and item 14, please?
Agenda item 2, confirmation of minutes. I propose these. I have a seconder.
Councillor second those, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak on them? I'll accept those, please show. Thank you very much. Agenda item 3, I've got a list. First of all, start with the raffle. As you may have noticed, there have been a lot of generous people this evening. I've got a Christmas raffle, and the Christmas raffle is only for councillors, officers and staff. Freckleton Messiah, this Sunday coming, 2:30 and 6 p.m. at the Methodist Church. It's free to get in, and there are refreshments in the community centre prior to this. Next week, 13th and 14th, 7 p.m. That's the invitation for drinks. 26th of January, got to get it in, haven't we? A race night, 6:30 at Lytham Cricket and Tennis Club, and that is being organised by Councillor Will Harris after his extremely well organised twinning event. One thing we've missed, and I'm very sorry, I missed this at the last council meeting, Ellswick, and I'm sorry Paul's not here, but I will reiterate this in February when Paul Hayhurst is present, we hope. Ellswick, champion of champion. Champion of champion. Okay, next one. Sitting over here, we've got a very important person who's now the new leader of the other group of people. And his company is Red Box VR. It got an award in Malta for the best use of, please excuse me, better verse in medicine. Can we give him a clap, please? And over to you for your greetings.
So thank you, Mr Mayor, and apologies, colleagues, this is not a normal thing. I just wanted to say it's my daughter's 10th birthday today, and I can't be with her today, so I wanted to say a quick happy birthday. She won't be watching, but just for the record. Anyway, happy birthday, Nancy. Love you. Miss you. Thank you.
I thought you'd like that. Chief Exec.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have no communications this evening and no birthdays.
No questions that you're keeping quiet about. No questions from members of the public. Item number 6, which is on page 4. Is it? Page 4. Yeah. Which is question which is going to be addressed by Councillor Gill. It's all yours, Councillor Gill.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, as we understand from the previous council meeting, and explained so eloquently by Councillor Redcliffe, Section 106 monies are secured from developers to provide contributions to social infrastructure which are required due to their large-scale developments. Therefore, can the leader please explain why Farnborough Council is to give back £147,000 to the developer Morris Homes? This money has been identified as required to provide school places, something Farnborough Council have queried even though it is not their statutory responsibility, i.e. it is the responsibility of Lancashire County Council. The large development surrounding the Water's Edge pub has been promoted by Morris Homes as a family estate and contains many young and growing families. The closest school is Clifton Primary School, the recipient, we hope, of these agreed monies. I've been informed by Farnborough Council that handing the monies back as Lancashire County Council did not provide the requirement in time for the paperwork to be completed, quoting 10 days. Lancashire County Council did inform Falborough Council on the 21st of October 2021 with a deadline to allocate the 106 monies being May 2022. Apparently officers were diverted away from this task due to other priorities. Over 6 months was available for the task that had been given 10 days to complete, and this was apparently insufficient amount of time. How much time was needed? Surely, with the amount of money involved, £147,000, and the imperative need for this money at one of our local schools, a priority should have been given to the completion of this paperwork. If the school cannot now provide support for the extra children moving into the immediate area, those children will have to travel further to school, increasing the cost to their families. We look forward to your explanation.
Okay, Councillor Gill, I remember when Councillor Reckley gives his response, if you have a question, it has to be to do with his response.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Gill, for your question. There's no doubt in my own mind that the question raises some understandable concerns regarding the outcome of a Section 106 agreement and associated process and protocol. It is, I think we can all agree on this, disappointing that a significant amount of 106 monies, £147,000, had to be returned to the developer, and that this sum of money was not used for its intended purpose. However, it is also important that the scenario played out is analysed in the correct context and explanations for actions taken or indeed not taken are fully understood. One of the challenges of our 106 payment arrangements with Farnborough Council and Lancashire County Council is that the timing and phasing of decision making sometimes involves very late considerations and consequent decision making by both authorities in order to process payment. A further complication is that Fylde Council is the holding authority for the 106 funds, but Lancashire County Council is the responsible decision-making authority for using those funds. Despite those challenges, I have to say that Fylde communities have, and I'm sure in the future will continue to benefit greatly from such funding. I want to start by going back to 2012. The developer entered into a Section 106 agreement requiring a series of financial contributions to Fylde Council to improve the local infrastructure. This was to do with the Water's Edge development. These payments included a sum of £540,897, £325,760 were part of Phase 1, and a further £215,137 for Phase 2. There were 2 phases of the plan payments. I quote, this is part of the agreement that Fylde Council had to sign, to be used towards the funding of additional primary school place provision to serve the needs of the residents of the development. Very important, those words. This agreement included a provision that the council would repay to the developer such amount of any payment made by the owner to the council under this deed, which has not been expended in accordance with the provisions of this deed within 5 years of the date of receipt by the council of such payment. The relevant repayment date was the 9th of May 2022. I want to move on to April-May 2021, when Lancashire County Council requested the use of funds at Clifton Primary School. The Planning Committee approved a contribution of £393,089 to be paid to Lancashire County Council and Clifton Primary School for the provision of 25 additional school places. This was because of a temporary uplift in the need for places at Clifton Primary School. This was passed, and that money was paid. In October 2021, Lancashire County Council engaged with Clifton School regarding Phase 2, because the £393,000 already paid had been taken from Phase 1, but also part of the funding from Phase 2. At this point, they explicitly expressed concern regarding using this money for nursery provision. Their concern was that they felt the terms of agreement were to deliver additional primary school place provision rather than nursery care, which is a different sector. October 2021. The File Section 106 officer asked Lancashire County Council to submit details of this next phase of work proposal coming from Clifton School, October 2021, particularly given that the request was not in line with the terms of the agreement. Lancashire County Council were also reminded by File Council of the repayment date of the 9th of May 2022, and that any scheme would need to be completed by that date. That clear advice was put to Lancashire County Council in October 2021. We move to April 2022. Lancashire County Council advise of potential project details of a proposed scheme for Clifton School. This is 6 months after they had declared an intention of doing that. In that 6 months, we had heard nothing at File Council. In May 2022, within days and weeks, it was then by us initially considered that the funds could be transferred to Lancashire County Council if they identified a suitable scheme and entered into a legal agreement undertaking to repay the money and indemnify File Council in the event of a claim by the developer that the money had not been spent by the deadline, or it had not been spent on works relevant to the legal agreement. Lancashire County Council were not able to sign the agreement before the repayment date, and filed legal service advised that the transfer of funds was not possible unless the date was extended. The developer would not agree to an extension and requested that the money be repaid. The Education Authority, Lancashire County Council, at no time did they consider, apart from the contribution to Clifton Primary School for temporary uplift in numbers, at no time did they consider that there was any requirement to increase places in the St Anne's area. The Education Liaison Working Group, of which myself and Councillor Nulty are members, additionally were advised by Lancashire County Council on more than one occasion that the local school roll across Fylde was falling for the first time in many years, and that there was no requirement to increase school places in the local area. I would like to make, finally, in summary, some key points. Clifton Primary School did receive £393,089 in Section 106 payments over Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the process, in line with the agreement to increase school places. As there was no identified need from Lancashire County Council to provide additional primary school spaces, the remaining £147,000 had to be returned to the developer. Fundamentally, this occurred because LCC were not able to identify in time a legitimate scheme within the terms of the original agreement consistent with the purpose of increasing primary school places. The backdrop to this position was LCC's assessment that there was not a requirement for additional school places locally because of falling rolls. Furthermore, a late scheme proposed for nursery provision probably fell outside the original legal agreement and expenditure of Section 106 monies and could not be justified. It may be that one of the things that we can learn from this experience is that perhaps we can review the existing mechanisms that are employed to get us to this point. But I hope some of these explanations have led to some further understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Redcliffe. Councillor Gill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can see from the response, there's quite an awful lot to go at here. And to say my supplementary question, I think, can cover the £147,000 that he so eloquently identified. Yes, it is true about the some of the elements in terms of providing monies out of the 106 monies to Clifton School for the gap year that was, or the increased year, shall we say, at the school. However, the issue is around about £147,000, not the £300,000 before. And on the 21st of October 2021, a report was sent, and I've got a copy of the email, to Fylde Borough Council. I am asking the question, and I'll get to the question, but I'm trying to put that into context, Mr. Mayor. So that particular email was sent with what was preschool places, not nursery places, and they are a distinct difference. Nursery places clearly come from other monies. Preschool can either be done by Lancashire County Council in terms of reducing the age, or by governor-led applications for preschool. So those fall into the category, Mr. Mayor. And unfortunately, from the 21st of October, some 6 months passed, 3 months of which where the officers were taken off.
Mr. Mayor, this is a statement, not a question.
Off the job. Can I just, excuse me, I haven't yet got to my question, yeah? So, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'm being interrupted by other people. I don't. Yeah. So, as I say, I'm extremely disappointed by the response received, and I actually have gone through a complaint procedure of which the head of planning has turned around and confirmed quite a number of the issues. But through this sorry state of affairs, what I would like to know is from that.
Question, please.
Can I make the question?
No, get your question.
Yeah.
I did say this.
I am about to make my question. So my supplementary question is, why the council, after admitting their failings as described by Councillor Redcliffe in terms of pursuing these 106 monies, why they haven't approached the developer with cap in hand to say that it took its eye off the ball, and since the money had already been handed over and was an upside to their profitability, could they not waive the right to payment and support the local community, which the council has clearly failed to do in this instance?
Yes, I mean, actually, there was an approach made to the developer to extend the deadline and explain some of these circumstances. Unfortunately, the developer didn't want to be involved with that, wouldn't extend the deadline. Could I also just put one other thing in to Councillor Gill in answer to his question? And that obviously one of the things that we want to do in the next Education Liaison Group meeting, which is in the new year, is we fully intend to look at this, to look at the way that it was actually dealt with in the broader context. Because one of the things that the Education Liaison Group has sought for many years with Lancashire County Council is better communication. And it's been very, very difficult. It's taken intervention from the very top at Fylde Council to actually get some of our meetings programmed. And what I would say is at the next meeting, that is an opportunity to review a number of aspects of this particular case. And I will assure Councillor Gill that will happen.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Redcliffe. Colleagues, when you're going to ask a second question, start off by saying, my supplementary question is, and go straight into the question, please. Because in February, when it's the next full council, if we have the same scenario, I'm afraid I'll have to stop the speaker. Okay. Procedure. Item 7, proposed schedule of meetings. I invite Councillor Buckley to introduce the item.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Council is asked to approve the schedule of meetings for the next year, which is after the election. And this is on, the schedule is actually on page 7. There's just one amendment to put forward, Mr Mayor, to those, and it was in discussion with the Constitution Working Group, which met last week, to change the name of the policy meeting, instead to call it the executive meeting, which is actually in line with what it was called many years ago, councillors, when we had an executive committee. And it was felt that this was, it would avoid a confusion. There was some confusion about scrutiny. So to call it, instead of calling it policy, which you'll see that it meets most months, so instead of calling it policy, to call it the Executive Committee. So just with that, Mr Mayor, I move the recommendation to approve the schedule of meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to stand to second that, and may I reserve the right to speak if needed. Thank you.
Anybody want to speak against this, please? Okay, all those in favour, please show. Carried. Thank you. Agenda item 8, medium-term financial strategy. Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise to move the recommendation to note and approve the implications of this updated financial forecast. This forecast was debated in the Finance and Democracy Committee recently. Members have full information before them. It is always useful, I think, to look at Appendix E, and that is on page 33, because that sets out the forecast present year and the forthcoming years. And I also, having spoken to our Finance Director, I'm warned that the next time that this update comes to the Council in February, it may change significantly, and that is because we are awaiting the government announcement on the government funding, which comes very close to Christmas. So we mustn't get wedded to these particular figures. It may be that this looks quite different in February. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the recommendation.
Councillor Sherwood, for second.
No, but quite happy to do that, Mr Mayor. Quite happy to stand to second that and reserve the right to speak if needed.
Does anybody want to speak against this motion, please? All those in favour, please show. Carried. No one told me, Councillor. Agenda item 9, midterm prudential indicators, page 34. Councillor Gordon, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Code of Practice on Treasury Management requires that the Council receives a mid-year Treasury review report, and this report provides the position as at 30th of September 2022. The Council's investment strategy is such that it only invests in high-quality credit organisations and does not invest for over 365 days at length. This means that a prudent approach is taken to ensure that priority is given to security and liquidity over yield. I can confirm that no Treasury limits have been breached during the 6-month period, and that at all times during the year, the Council has been investing in line with both the Treasury strategy and the SIPFA Code of Practice. I am therefore happy to propose the recommendation that the prudential indicators and the investment limits as shown in Appendix B be approved. Thank you.
Call upon Councillor Ed Nash to second this.
Second, Mr Mayor, and reserve.
Anyone wish to speak on this at all? In that case, all those in favour, please show. It's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 10, council tax reduction. And Councillor Bamford's going to is declared his and is remotely. I think he's left us. I invite Councillor Buckley to introduce the item. Councillor O'Rourke to second. Councillor Thorfall's leaving. Right. Okay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Council Tax Reduction Scheme is renewed each year following consultation with the main preceptors, that's Lancashire County Council, Police and Fire and Rescue. And you can find their responses at the appendix to the report, and you'll see that they are in agreement with the recommendations. This scheme is nearly 10 years old and has been operating well in Fylde with a twin-track approach to use the discretionary hardship relief to further support those struggling to pay their council tax. The Finance and Democracy Committee debated this issue and agreed with the recommendations as set out before you. I therefore move these that are set on page 48. You find the recommendations are to approve the continuation of this existing scheme, approve the continuation of the discretionary hardship relief, and approve as necessary that the financial implications are reflected in the Council's revenue, budget and financial forecast. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor O'Rourke, second.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm very pleased to be able to second this item and reserve the right to speak if necessary. Thank you.
Anybody wish to speak on this? All those in favour, please show. It's carried. Agenda item 11, fully funded. So Agenda item 11, fully funded revenue budget increase, household support fund, page 60. And I invite Councillor Trelfall to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fellow councillors, this is a good news story, fully supported by the Environment, Health and Housing Committee. We need to work with partners to get the support to where it's most needed in our community. We are pleased to be working with the filed CAB and the range of other partners that we have. We are also pleased to be delivering a range of support through our housing team, including a top-up for the Affordable Warmth Scheme. This will provide grants to vulnerable residents to help with energy efficiency measures, and I commend this fully funded budget increase to the Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to second this. As Councillor Trelfall said, this is getting money to the right people in the right places, and our housing support officers have done a sterling job so far, and I hope we can all support them distributing further funds to exactly where it needs to go. Thanks.
Councillor Nulty.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to see this, but I would like more publicity, please, particularly about the energy relief that is available, because I deal with people all the time, and a lot of people are really struggling with the energy support, and they come to us not knowing where to turn for this. So I don't know how you can more publicise it, but it's not easy with people. The type of people who are suffering are not people who are on looking at websites and what have you, and anything that anybody can think of. It may be a simple note to food banks: if you're suffering with energy, please contact this number, that sort of thing. But I know the take-up has been quite low on the energy support, and I know that there are people suffering from it. So very much welcome what's going on, but the publicity is so important. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you, Councillor Nulty. I think it's always good that Linda, over the years, has always kind of kept her fingers on the pulse on this, so thank you very much. It was something we'd just been discussing earlier on, because it's not just a point of having the scheme, it's about publicising the scheme so that the people who are in need of it, and rest assured, communications will get onto that in as many forms as we possibly can, as soon as we can.
Thank you very much. Councillor Silverwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following up on what Councillor Nulty said, which is, she's absolutely spot on, of course. Really a question. The filed bus that we have is, we utilise it in many fabulous ways. Just thinking, could this be used in a way to direct people with all the things that we do in filed, but to highlight, particularly as Linda's just said, this could be a way that we could use the filed information bus. What is it called, the bus, Alan?
It's now branded the Tourist Information.
Okay, well it could be TI and borough information at times of need. So perhaps that could be thrown in the pot as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's on the same theme, and I think we all really want to see this publicised far and wide by every single means at our disposal. And one of those is through our parish and town councils. So all of councillors who are dual-hatted, please take that with you and push it through that means as well. And the other one I can think of that goes to every household, every council taxpayer, is the leaflet with the council tax bill. Let's get it on the leaflet with the council tax bill. Thank you.
I'm further told that the CAB have increased in their officer capacity, which will be going out with the good word to further this. And also tomorrow we'll get on with our comms team in the town hall to also assist on this. But I thank Linda for those comments.
12, fully funded revenue budget increase, Homes for Ukraine scheme, page 65. Councillor Threlford.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this is a continuation of our 3-year plan of funding to help our Ukrainian friends and people who are visiting us. We're proud to have the second largest amount of Ukrainians in Lancashire in-filed as we speak, and we are expecting another 30 in the near future. So I propose this item and ask you all to support it. I have a seconder, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, very pleased to support this. And it's also worth noting that while we have the second highest number of Ukrainians living here in Fylde on this scheme, that's more than double the number of the third highest. So we really are a welcoming bunch, and it's great to see this money going again where it's needed. Thank you. Oh, sorry, should have stood up. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I'm sorry, it's not actually about this matter, but so I'm sorry to speak out of order, but I just thought of it. But just going back to what was said about the Household Support Fund regarding the council tax reduction scheme, if that is not already advertised on the council tax bills, could that also be put on there as well, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the recommendation. This policy statement went before Finance and Democracy Committee for debate. I do need to bring to Councillors' attention that the policy statement is for the year 23-24. So when you go to the Appendix 1, it says 22-23. That needs to be altered. It is for 23-24. I move the recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Small.
Thank you very much again, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to stand to second this and would reserve the right to speak if needed. Thank you.
Anybody wish to speak on this?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As members will be aware, the Constitution Review Working Group has met on several occasions, and in doing so we have considered how remote participation arrangements should be revised. As part of this process, we have taken feedback from members, held detailed discussions with officers, and sought advice from both the Local Government Association and from Blackpool Council's Disabilities Advisor as part of our shared service arrangements. These proposed changes to the Constitution have also been considered by the Audit and Standards Committee at its November meeting and have been approved by this committee to come to full council tonight. The changes detailed in the report change the criterion for remote participation arrangements from one of well-being to one of disability. The changes mean that a councillor requiring remote attendance will be able to attend all committee meetings remotely, regardless of whether or not they are a member of that particular committee. And it extends the ability to attend remotely to include exempt items. The changes also reduce the notice period from 1 week to 3 working days. Finally, the limit of 2 members attending remotely at any meeting would be retired. I hope that members will join me in supporting the revised council procedure rules this evening, and I am pleased to propose them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nash. Yes, I know. Councillor Nash.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I second this and reserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody want to speak on this? All those in favour, please show. Barry. Agenda item 15, corporate plan, page 82, I invite Councillor Buckley.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. The recommendation is to approve the progress made against the corporate plan, which is for the years 2020 to 24. Regular updates on the corporate plan do come through the committee meetings for debate, and you will see in the papers, Mr Mayor, that good progress is being made towards this plan, with 81% of actions achieved by the target date. So I do move the recommendation, Mr Mayor. Have a seconder. Thank you.
Councillor Swart.
Thank you again, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to stand second this, and again, may I reserve the right to speak if needed. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak on